More Unreal Engine. We're moving objects in this tutorial. Opening the same project that I've been through this whole series yet again. Previously we made a controller. We called it Escape Player Controller and an Escape Pawn. And together it will allow us to have our first player, our first person view character, pick up objects, place them around, and things that we might want to do with a good old escape room. So here we go. Again, I'm here just in the top of this content up here in the content browser, just putting all this stuff in one place. Normally you'd probably want to have a different folder for each thing, but I just want this to all be together, and it'll be easier for us to find everything when we're working on our tutorial, even though we could search in the content if we wanted. So here we go. Let's not waste any more of your time. Right click on here in the content browser. Let's go to Blueprint Class. Let's go with the old actor, and we'll call this one Lift Objects. This will be like an empty class that we can put multiple items in that we want to be able to lift and pick up. So this is kind of like a parent class. Then we're gonna right click in here again, and we'll select New Blueprint Class. And this time we're gonna go down here to All Classes. And this whole thing that we've never really noticed before, you've all probably noticed it before, but I haven't made reference to it before. We can search for something in here. We're gonna look for Lift Objects and select. And then this one here, we can call this one Mystic Cube. Here we go. This Mystic Cube will allow us to, I want to have something where I move it from one part of this escape room and then I take it to an ending location, and that's going to trigger the end game. So that's why I'm giving this one that oddly specific name. Alright, Mystic Cube's created. Let's double click on that. And because this is going to be a cube, you could make it whatever you want. It just makes sense if it's a cube because that's what we called it. Really truly doesn't matter the size actually, because we can always scale it in the outer world. So there's that on there. And I think I can just leave that named as cube for right now as well. And compile and save. And close out of that. And just for right now, I can move this cube out here. And let's go ahead and translate that up a little bit and then scale it down a little. I'm going to have it float in the air because it's supposed to be kind of mystical. Alright, here we go. Got that one done. We added it to the map. And double click on this and go to the viewport. And then for this one, you see, I want to have a place where that object, when we pick it up, where it connects to our first person character that we made to this pawn, which is essentially just a camera and where our body would be if we had a body, but we're just kind of invisible on a first person mode. Let's add a component up here, and we'll search for it. Scene. We're going to add a scene. All right, and it puts this little block in here. And it's asking us if we want to name it. We could leave a name scene, but there's a good chance I'm going to forget what that is later. So for now, since that's where the box or the cube is going to attach itself to, I'm just going to call this lift objects attachment. All right, lift objects attachment. And even though it's invisible, you know, I can still move this around. And this here is kind of like where the middle of our body would be. I'm going to move this up just a little bit above that, and I'm going to move it out to the front, so that way when we move the box and it attaches, we'll be able to see it in the camera view, and it'll be held out in front of us, any object that we pick up. The great thing about this, we can always go back in and manipulate it, make adjustments, and change it if we need to, if it's not showing up right. So it's, you know, this isn't etched in stone or anything like that at this point in time. All right, so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close out of this here, and then I will go back to Edit and Project Settings, and we're looking over here for, I always have a hard time finding this, input. It's under engine input. There we go. So we found the input there, and then we are looking for action mappings. Okay, when I click on this, we have ones on there for jump, fire, and move and all that kind of thing. And I'm going to add an action mapping. All right, and this mapping here, this first one I'm going to call lift object. And what do I want to use for this? What's the key value going to be? You know, if I click on gamepad and they have, or not gamepad, I don't want to use gamepad, keyboard, sorry about that. You know, ASDW is what's moving my character around by default. So just for the convenience, you know, I'm going to put the letter F, be to pick up the object for right now. And then we can add another action mapping. This one I'll call place object. And for the mapping of this one, go back to our keyboard again. And I'll just use the letter C because it's located conveniently underneath the F key. We could make it be the same button, but for right now, to make it a little bit easier, that's what we'll do. Okay. So we got that there. So those are good. I'm going to close out of that. All right, so here we are. We're ready for the next part. We want to go to our escape player controller. I'm going to double click on this. And no, this is a data only blueprint. So I'm going to click open full blueprint editor. All right, here we go. Now it looks the way that I thought it would. And on the event graph, I'm going to go ahead and right click here and search lift object. Alright, and we'll just kind of put it over here on this side. There we go. Also, I want to do the same thing for place object. that's those input actions that we just put in those preferences, and now they allow us to show up in here. So that works out pretty good. Once we have that done, and maybe up here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to right click up here and I'm going to search, actually no, how do I do this? Event on possess. Alright, here we go. We have event on possess. Sorry about that. And from here, if I click and drag this possessed pawn, I'm going to search for cast to, and I'm looking for escape pawn. Cast to escape pawn, because that's the name of the pawn that we've created on our previous tutorial. And it automatically connects both of those lines. Alright, and then I can, once I'm done with that, I need to go here from as escape pawn. I want to put this onto a target. So let's bring this here. Let's drag this off to the side. And if I search for get first person camera, there we go. Just going to set up our camera there. And I'm going to compile and save. The next part I want to do, or the next thing that I want to do, is add a variable. So over here in the blueprints, looking through here, here it is, variable. I want to add a variable, and this one is going to be called player cam ref. And when I look over here to the side for the variable type of this, I'm actually going to search, and I'm going to look for camera component, and it says camera component right here, this top one here. That'll be perfect. All right. So we have reference to that right there. Then if I drag this out and select set, okay, and then I can bring this arrow to here, and then I can bring my first person camera reference to right here. So that's going to set up, make sure everything's good to go with our camera view and position with our character and everything. Alright, the next part, we want to work with this input action lift object node right here. Okay. Right above this, actually, I'm going to select get world transform from this variable. So I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to get the player cam reference, and then if I drag this off and go get world transform, and that's going to bring this up here. And so, you know, we want to have it to where when we press this input action key, which is our letter F on our keyboard, then ultimately we want it to identify the object in front of us and to bring it to that scene that we added to our pawn. Alright, so with our cam reference up here, we can right click on this and split the struct pin, and we have these three objects right here, and this is going to kind of double connect between two things. So here for pressed for input, lift objects. I'm going to bring that over to the side, and I'm going to search line trace for objects. Okay, and that is this block right here. Okay, so then this transform, we're going to go with the return value location and bring that to the start, and then we want to find the endpoint. So for that, we're going to go to return value rotation. We're going to bring this down, and we want to find get forward vector. Vector times float. Alright, and then in here we're going to have this number be large, just so we have plenty of margin for error in with this. So we're going to select 10,000. Alright, and then if we bring that up here to end, then we have that. This gets a little bit messy here, so I do apologize. The downfall about blueprints or any kind of a block based type of coding, this is, you know, kind of one of those issues that comes up with that. Okay, so line trace for objects, we have that selected there. Also, I forgot about the object type. Okay, so if I bring this down here and I type in make array, and this is going to be world dynamic. Then I compile and save, and then we're good for that line trace for objects. So looking for objects, whether or not we can pick them up or not, that are in a straight line. Alright, so the next part for this that we want to do, we can bring this white line over, and I'm going to type in cast to lifts objects. Alright, we have this going on right there. Also here for this, if we come over to the side for the out hit and I bring this down, we want to find break hit results, and if we expand that and we're looking for the actor, and then we can drag this over here to objects. Alright, so from here I'm going to bring, actually I'm going to create a new variable, selecting over here variable, and I'm going to call this one held object. I'm going to just make sure the eyes are visible on both of those for right now. Held object, if I search over here for the type, I'm going to select lift objects for that class. That's going to contain the Mystic Cube and anything else that we may want to pick up later. Compile and save. Alright, and then from this I can bring this white arrow, and I'm going to search for set held object, and I can select this as lift objects. I can bring this up here to held object on this part. Alright, and then after that we are ready to go from set, and we can bring that over to cast to escape pawn. Alright, we have that block going on right there. Okay, so this cast to escape pawn, we also will need to bring from this object, we want to make reference to the get escape. Oh man, not pawn. Here, let me save this real quick. And then up here we can right click and search for get controlled pawn and bring this down to cast to escape pawn from the return value down to the object. All right. From the cast to escape pawn, you can bring this white arrow over. Attach actor to component. And we'll bring that right there. And where it says as escape pawn, and from here we can bring this down and lifts objects attachment. Okay, and then we can bring this up here to connect to parent. Alright, also on here where we have cast to lift objects, I'm actually going to branch this over and connect this to target over here. So we have that selected to there, and we should be good with that part. Alright. So this here connects onto this, and actually if I look back over here to where we have this branching off, I could actually also bring this now up to the top, and I'm gonna put in here default scene root. Get that to there. Okay, and we have those connected to that. Also, I need to move as escape pawn, and I need to connect that up here to the target for attach actor to component also. So again, this is, like I said, gets a little bit messy, and I'm trying to find a way to show all these lines without it being too hard to see on your screens and everything, but hopefully if you pause that you'll be able to see where everything's connected, and it can help out with that. For the location rules for these, I'm going to select keep world, and for the rotation I'm going to go keep world, and for the scale rule we can keep relative, and then this is selected right there. All right, then from this target up here we'll bring this down and set world location. Just going to bring this here. We can also then bring this to carry that through. And also from this lift objects attachment, we can bring this down and get world location, and then bring this return value over to here. All right, and then rounding down this part of lifting the object, let's look for our get held object and bring this over here, and then we can find set actor enable collision. And the reason why we need to do this is because otherwise when we lift our object we wouldn't be able to move through it. So while we're picking up the object, we're going to disable the collision from our Mystic Cube. And then, yeah. Okay, so we have that selected. And I think we are in pretty good shape as far as picking up the object. This here, we have our nodes connected there. This we have here. All right, and going to cast to escape pawn. It's going to there. All right, and then we have the set control pawn. I think we're in good shape. So just to try this out, check our progress, see if there's any mistakes. I'm gonna compile and save and close out of this. All right, here's the Mystic Cube. When I look over here, so like I push the F button over here, nothing happens. I click here and the cube is in front of me and it is being carried around. And this actually isn't too terrible. I could probably stand to bring the cube a little bit closer. I'm gonna have a little error there as I'm testing that. So if I go back to escape pawn and go to my viewport and go to the lift objects attachment, and I might move this just a little bit closer, compile and save. If I go back here again and look at this object, brings it a little closer there anyway. So that's not really terrible for right now what we have. Okay, so we have that saved. So we are able to pick up the object. Now we need to be able to drop the object. I'm going back to our escape player one more time. And that, my goodness, that up there is kind of a mess. But it works. That's what matters. All right, and now we have our input action place object. So when we're leaving the floating mystical cube alone. Okay, so if I right click up here and I search for get held object and bring that up here, and if I bring this down, I should be able to search for detach from the actor. Alright, and then I can go press, so when it's pressed it's going to detach from the actor, and then I can bring this over. Actually, sorry. Then I'm going to go up here to held object again, get, and because we set the cube to be having no collisions when it's picked up, I want to have collisions go back to where it's a solid object again, technically when we put it back down. So then I can go here, set actor enable collision. And then in that case, I'm going to toggle this new actor enable collision and bring this over to here. All right, compile and save. Sorry about the chirping there. That's from Tamagotchi R2 over there. All right, saving this and closing. Let's go back here one more time and F to pick up the object. I'll move around and then push C to place the object. And that's no good. That's no good. That's no good at all. So let's go back and see what mistakes that I have made. Going back here to escape player. Okay, so on drop pressed. Oh, because I forgot to change my location rules. So back in here, keep world, and then keep relative. Alright, let's close out of this. Let's try it one more time. Alright, go over here, we pick up the object, we leave the object, and we have it floating around. Awesome. And then you can re-pick it up and replace it as many times as you want to. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do here before closing out, because this tutorial was a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and put this floating cube over here at this platform. So back in here now we have the opening layout. We have these elevators that can move up to those platforms. We have mystical cube floating right there, and we have the little unlock button that opens up this door. And I think that puts us at a pretty good stopping point. So the next time we all come back together here, I think we're going to build a platform that when this cube is returned to this location, it's gonna trigger the end of the game. And it's kind of, you know, a little bit of throwback to Atari Adventure, you know, bringing the chalice or whatever back to the original castle. And then that'll kind of keep us going on our little escape room here. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'm no expert on all of this. The YouTube channel Making Games with Katie is awesome. That's where, you know, I started learning how to do this, and just checking out tutorials on YouTube and looking at different books. I have this Unreal Engine 4 game development book. It's a Sam's Teach Yourself guide. That's had some useful information for me. And then I have Unreal Engine 4 game development quick start guide, which has really helped me out too. But watching those YouTube channels and checking out those books and all that, I'm sure you'll learn a lot more than what I could teach you. This is just kind of me taking what I've learned from these different resources and trying to put together escape room as I'm learning about it. And hopefully you're able to pick up some tips as you're learning along with me. So thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next tutorial, and we'll talk to you later.